Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's Product Showcase webinar. My name is Erica Grau, Director of Marketing here at Rhinogram. Today, I am joined by my colleague, Brendan Dagg, Director of Product Management. He is going to walk us through Rhinogram's latest features. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentation, please do ask them in the GoToWebinar control panel. We have saved time at the end to answer any questions you may have. Also, today's session will be recorded and emailed to all registrants, so if you need to share with anyone on your team who may have missed this live event, you can be sure to send them that email. All right, Brendan, let's get right in.
Thanks very much, Erica. I am delighted to have the opportunity to speak with everybody today about how the latest enhancements to Rhinogram can benefit your practice. First of all, just to introduce myself again, my name is Brendan Dagg. I am the Director of Product Management here at Rhinogram, and I've been with the team close on 4 years now. As you are aware, one of the key value propositions of Rhinogram is helping you to stay efficient. In our current climate, that is an ever-increasing challenge, as we are all fully aware. Thankfully, last week's release, version 3.5.2 of Rhinogram's main focus is efficient and personalized communication. And while saving time is vital, we also ensure that our other bedrocks of patient convenience and ensuring ongoing compliance were core to this release. So let's take a look at the details of the new enhancements. So the main topics that we will cover today are our new TCPA consent management, or global search enhancements, Rhino Blast, which was introduced at the last product showcase, and I'm happy to say is now generally available to all organizations, which we are extremely excited about. We also have some streamlined functionality when it comes to creating and editing lists of your contacts, which is a key component of Rhino Blast. And in addition to that, I wanted also to introduce a couple of new updates that have gone into beta this week and will be generally available to all of our clients later this month. They are message translations and conversation select and save, which I think you guys will be really excited about. The format of this webinar will be a quick overview of each feature here, and then at the end I will jump into a demo so that you can actually see everything in action. So let's start with Rhinogram's Marketing Consent Tool. Our Marketing Consent Tool allows you to document that you have obtained the correct consent status for each contact before communicating with them about non-healthcare related issues. This tool will give you the ability to mark the consent status and then also display that status prominently throughout the application at the point of search and at the point of communication to allow you to communicate with more assurance. And as always, everything that we do is logged and fully audited as well. So I also wanted to take this opportunity to run through some of the key details when it comes to marketing communications. So first of all, we know that text messaging is closely regulated by the TCPA Act, and steep penalties can occur if regulations are not followed carefully. So what is covered? Healthcare messages are exempt from any of these regulations. So anything that is related to an appointment, healthcare, prescriptions, notification, lab results are exempt. But what is covered under the TCPA Act is any non-healthcare related messages. So if you are communicating any new services, if you are sending out birthday greetings, special offers, any marketing communications is all covered. So here are some guidelines for the requirements for sending these types of messages. First of all, you need to make sure that you have got prior consent before you send any of these type of messages. We know that our practices are already doing that as a part of your ongoing process. We encourage you to keep your existing process for how you obtain written consent. In addition, you need to ensure that you have an opt-out option whenever you do send a text message, and anybody that has opted out that you have a record of them being opted out, and that you are storing that accordingly. And another interesting area as well is that even though a contact has withdrawn their consent to receive marketing or advertising messages, they should retain the ability to receive a text message related to their healthcare, so they are not linked. When actually sending out the messages, there are a couple of important things that you should always make sure are in those messages. One is the name of the practice. The second one is the telephone number or the address of the practice. The option to opt out is also very important. And then some of the guidelines for when you can send this is to make sure you're sending it in the patient's local time zone between the hours of 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. Make sure that it is not more than 160 characters long. And within Rhinogram, we have the indicator of how long each text message is, which is very convenient. And I will say with all this that Rhinogram, we cannot provide legal advice, and we recommend that you consult legal counsel for specific guidance on text messaging in your area. So the next feature that I wanted to speak about is Rhino Blast. So Rhino Blast gives you the ability to send out personalized broadcast messages to groups of up to 50 patients at the same time. So you can create custom lists, retrieve all lists, update existing lists, and select multiple individuals from either these lists or from Appointment Manager and send out messages. You can communicate with those contacts using either organization templates, or you can craft messages on the fly and send the message out to that selected groups. I am pleased to announce that this is now generally available for all of our organizations, and I will show you in our demo how to access this. So what I also wanted to do is to run you through some examples and some of the value that our beta clients found when they were using the Rhino Blast feature. So in the last month, the demand for Rhino Blast has really increased, due obviously to COVID-19 and the impact that this is having on how care can be delivered. We've really seen the benefits for the organizations that have been able to use Rhino Blast to communicate with your patients. It increases the speed and the consistency with which you can reach large groups without losing any of the personalization. It also helps to take some of the burden and the pressure off the volume of incoming phone calls that you're receiving, as our practices have been able to be more proactive about reaching out in the first place with the communication, rather than waiting for an influx of phone calls into the practice. So some of the common scenarios where we have seen Rhino Blast used over the last month, very popular use case is around rescheduling of appointments. Being able to select a list and send the same message out to everybody, whether that is appointments need to be rescheduled, whether they need to be cancelled, etc. Very useful when it comes to appointment management. Also, for anybody that has got an in-office appointment where you need to send them specific instructions. So if your policy is when somebody arrives that you want them to wait in the car until you are actually available to see them, you can send that instruction out to them in advance for everybody, for instance, that has an appointment in the upcoming week. We've also seen a greater amount of patient engagement, specifically around giving guidance during this period that we are in right now as well. In addition to that, we have seen a lot of marketing messages sent out, be that promotions, new services, birthday greetings, and the fact that we have our TCPA consent there as well means that you have that extra layer of assurance when you're sending out those messages. In addition, sending out a text message with a link through to maybe specific website content or to an e-newsletter has been also very popular. We've also seen our clients using this for waiting lists, where they have been adding a tag onto their patients, making a list, and then when they do have an opening in their schedule, sending out a message out to anybody that is on their waiting list. And I can show you that in our demo as well. In addition, like clinical trial communication has been quite popular over the last month as well. So as I mentioned, this is available for everybody, and it is a feature that we know now more so than ever is valuable and something that you guys really need to be using within the Rhinogram system. So in order for you to be able to send out those Rhino Blasts, we know that you need to be able to either make a list of contacts or select from existing lists. So Rhinogram actually gives you a couple of options. The first one allows you to select a group of contacts and send them a message. And I will run through this in the demo, but you are able to save a group so that you can communicate with them right now, or you can communicate with them at a later time. And it is also possible to populate those lists using tags as well. I will run through this in the demo in full detail. The other way that you can send out Rhino Blasts is by going to Appointment Manager. Now, Appointment Manager is a feature that is for integrated organizations only, where we do have your upcoming appointment information. So if you do have that feature enabled, you can select any of the patients based on a time period or the status of their upcoming appointment and send them out a personalized message from Rhino Blast. One thing that I do want to point out is if your organization is integrated and you're not using Rhinogram's appointment reminder feature, you can still request to switch on Appointment Manager, which means that you can avail of the Rhino Blast feature, and you can reach out to our success team and they would be happy to enable Rhino Manager if you are an integrated customer right now. In addition, we have made enhancements to our global search. So when you are searching for any contacts in the top bar within Rhinogram, or when you are creating lists. So we have inline results. There is no more modal that you would have seen in the past. As I mentioned, you also now have the ability to search by tags, which is a new filter that we have added. In addition, when you are looking at the search results, you can see the consent badges. So whether you have already got somebody's HIPAA consent or Rhino Pay consent, or now their marketing consent. And in addition to that, when you are using Rhinogram on your mobile device, there are search enhancements there to make this a smoother and a more seamless search experience on your mobile device. So they are some of the updates that are generally available for all of our customers. In addition, we have also added two more enhancements which we are really excited about as well. And I wanted to run through these with you right now as well. So the first of these is the ability to use message translation. And this gives you the ability to communicate with patients in their native language. Allowing you to do that allows you to promote the fact that non-English speaking patients can reach out to you and have a conversation via text message in their native language. Obviously, this reduces the barriers to care for non-English speakers who may otherwise be more reluctant to reach out to your practice and have an ongoing conversation with your practice. It works as follows. As a patient, I can send a text message in my native language, Spanish, French, etc. When that message comes in, Rhinogram is able to detect that this is non-English, and it will translate it into English. When you want to send a message back, you can compose the message in English and click the translate button. It will translate it into the recommended language and send that out to your patient, and then it will also maintain both the English version and the non-English version of the message. So anybody that wants to see, well, what was sent out to the patient and what does that actually mean in English is all available within the thread as well. So I will do a full demo of that, but we are excited about that feature as well. And the second one of these is conversation select and save. So we have heard this feedback for a long time, at this point, and we've heard a lot of scenarios of how our customers have been trying to get information out of Rhinogram and let's say into your EHR or wherever else it needs to go. What Conversation Select and Save does is makes that process much more efficient. So it allows you to export clinically relevant conversations and images for easy upload into the patient records. So it allows you to essentially go to a patient thread, select anything on that thread, a message, a note, an image, any of the key events, and you can bundle them into one file. This is a PDF file that then lives on the record of the patient in their profile. And then from there, you can download that and add it into your EHR or PMS system. It is fully controlled with permissions and fully audited, but again, very useful, efficient, and time-saving feature that we have added into Rhinogram as well. So that is the quick overview of Rhinogram and the enhancements that we have added. I did want to run through a full demo of everything that we have done, and we also wanted to leave lots of time for additional questions and anything that I can help with at the end of this webinar as well. So I am going to log into Rhinogram here, and I want to run through a few different sections, the updates to our contact lists, appointment manager, and show how the features that are now in beta will enhance the conversation thread in Rhinogram. So 1 second, let me log in here. So I am logged in as a staff member within an organization, and I have navigated here to my contacts section. In the past, this was just a list of all contacts. Let me show you what it looked like, as you're all well aware. Now what you will notice is we have added a saved list section. So I have already gone in and created a few lists here within Rhinogram. So anybody that is on my wait list, my diabetic list, my birthday list. If I wish to, for instance, send a message out to anybody that is on that wait list, now that we have Rhino Blast, I can choose to message those contacts. So here are the 4 people that are on this list. If I wish to not send a message out to one of them, I can remove them, and I can send a message I can either write a message as normal here, or I can use one of my templates. So in the example here, if these are people that are on a wait list and we have just had a last minute cancellation in the practice, I can use a template. For instance, my waitlist one, you'll see that it populates using the variables. So this is really useful for being able to personalize any message. So even if you're sending this up to a list of 50 people at one time, you can still have a personal touch within here using the variables. So I would simply send this out so everybody would get a message. Hi Juan, hi Clayton, etc. We have an immediate opening in our schedule today. Can you make an appointment with, insert name of the organization, at 1 p.m. First to respond will be guaranteed the appointment. I choose to send that from my number, and then I send this message out. You'll see here that it'll be sent out to all 3 contacts. You also see that the length of the message is roughly 182 characters. If this is a marketing message, you want to try to keep that under 160 characters. So once I send that message out, it lives as normal on the thread of the patient, and any responses are handled in the very same way as you are used to using Rhinogram. So let's say, for example, that on this wait list right now, it is these 4 contacts, and I want to add somebody else to this wait list. I have some options for how I wish to do that. If I know the name of the person, I can go in and search for their name. It will bring up anybody as before with all of those details, and I can add them into the list as well. If, for instance, I know that I want to add anybody that has a specific tag, I can click on tags here, and now I can search by organization tags. So because I know that I have a waitlist tag, it can now bring up all of the people in my organization that have a tag of waitlist. So we'll see that, for instance, Brendan is not on this list here. I'm going to update my list. So I have been able to update that list to 6 people. And if I now wish to send out a message out to those 6 people, I can do that at this point here as well. If you're not updating a list, but you wish to make a list from scratch, you can do that here as well. One interesting use case is if I wish to search by date of birth. So for instance, let's say we are doing a promotion with everybody that has a birthday in May. I can add in the month of May, and now I can select any of these people here to send a message out. So maybe it is like a prize draw for anybody with a birthday in a particular month. We know you guys are really creative with how you reach out to your patient base. What this tool here allows you to do is to reach out in a very efficient way, but still keeping that personal touch. So one of the other items that I wanted to point out with our search enhancements is that as you're searching, in addition to it searching by tags, let's just use the same waitlist example, and I just want to show how we've updated it here in the universal search as well. We've also added in the ability to see their indicators here as well. So if I know this is going to be a marketing message that I am sending out, if I know for sure that I have got the TCPA consent granted for a particular contact, then I can with some assurity add them into the list that I am creating. So that is how to create a list. At this point, I can save that list. I can give it a name. So let's say May birthday. And I can save it at any time. And now we see that we have our birthday list, our diabetic list, our May birthday list, etc. If I at any point ever need to remove a list, I can easily do that as well by just deleting that list from the organization. So what I've run through here is essentially one of the steps for how you can create your lists within Rhinogram and utilize our Rhino Blast feature by sending a one-time message out to everybody that is on that list that you have created. In addition to that, as I mentioned, if you are an integrated organization and you have Appointment Manager enabled, what you can also do is use Appointment Manager for your list and your source of which contacts you want to send a message out to. So I have navigated to my Appointment Manager page, and I see that in the next 7 days, there are 21 appointments. I can select either all on that list, up to 50, or if I want to search by, let's say, just give me everybody that is unconfirmed. So now my list is down to 18 people. I click over here, I see my list of 18 contacts, and as before, I can send a message out to all of those contacts. In some of the examples we've seen, our organizations are setting up a message template where it is specific instructions about the appointment that they're about to have, and they're sending those out to all of the contacts. So as I mentioned, even if you're not using appointment reminders, which is our automated messaging service around upcoming appointments, you can still use Appointment Manager for any other types of communication with anybody that has an upcoming appointment within the system. And you'll see that the flow for how you do it within Rhinogram is pretty much identical to how you do it from the first section that I showed, where you are doing it from a list that you have created yourself. So this still has our beta tag, but as I mentioned, Rhino Blast is now available for all of our organizations. So you will be able to start utilizing that as soon as you wish. In addition, I wanted to point out some of the changes that we've made on the individual threads of our patients. So let's just search for myself here. maybe see, fool myself. So I was searching by tags and I did not have a tag of my name. So I'm going to search for myself here. See, this is the person I'm looking for, and I'm going to bring up my conversation history. So this is the same Rhinogram conversation history that you're always used to, but I want to show some of the updates that we've made. First, small thing, if you need to expand and collapse any section over here, you can do that. So if you want to, just see the profile details and nothing else, you can do that. If you are particularly interested in seeing the communication consent side of things, you'll notice that we now have a marketing communication consent within here with the same 3 statuses as always. So if I was to, for instance, update the status here to denied, we'll see that there is a thread event within the patient thread to show that this was marked as denied, the name of the member and when it happened. Over here is advice around what denied means, that you cannot send advertisements or telemarketing messages. And however, if that person was to update their status again and say that they are granted, you can obviously update that there and it will be reflected within the thread. As you're adding any new patient or editing a patient as well, we've also streamlined that so that you can see marketing consent has been added here as well, and you can easily update or add any details here as well. For anybody that's not aware, how you add a tag onto a contact is here within the edit profile section. So if you wish to make a new tag or utilize an existing tag, so for instance, if I want to give them actually any tag, or if I want to create a new tag, I can do that, which is useful then when I want to go and find anybody in my organization that has got a tag applied to them. So let's say I make my updates here. One of the other key areas that I wanted to show is that you'll see I was having a conversation with myself earlier where a message came in, hola. I'm not a Spanish speaker, so that's about the extent of my Spanish knowledge. The message came in, Rhinogram was able to detect that this is non-English. It gave me the option to see a translation of that message. It is translated it here to hi there. Oh, sorry. Yes, it's translated here to hi there. And then me as the practice, I was able to compose a message and send that back in Spanish. So I composed the message in English and I sent it in Spanish. So I would like to show you how to do that. Let's just take a really simple example. I'm just going to write hello down here. You'll see that the option to translate into Spanish has appeared. If I know that Spanish is not the language I want to reach out, we also support some other languages, and this list of languages will grow over time. So if I want to send them a message back in Spanish, it automatically translates what I composed in English into Spanish, and at this point, I can either choose to send, or if I want to write some more, more details in English, I can do that and then do a second translation. So if I wanted to add some more details, translate to Spanish, and send. Now this patient receives a text message in Spanish in their native language, and anybody in the practice that may not necessarily speak Spanish or understand what this means at any time is able to come in and see the English version of this message as well for full context. That is message translation. That is in beta right now. A selection of our clients are utilizing it, and we hope that by the end of this month, it'll be generally available for all of our organizations. The final update that I wish to show you is select and save of clinical conversations. So we know that Rhinogram is a permanent, non-editable record of all of the communication and activity that happens with a particular patient. But we also know that sometimes that information, there's certain information from a patient's conversation would be useful to have elsewhere. be that in your EHR or wherever else it is necessary to move it to. With our new feature, Select and Save Content, when I go into select mode, you will notice that all of the events on this patient's thread, messages, consent statuses, internal notes, messages that maybe a patient sent, you can add them into a PDF document that is generated. So I'm going to do sample 3, test, and this is going to save just a selection of messages as a PDF document. It is going to automatically generate a PDF document, and here is what it looks like within Rhinogram. So you can see that this is from Rhinogram. Here's the name of it. Here's when it was saved, who saved it, and here's all of the content that I just saved. So if I had put in images in there, you would see the image. If I had put in really anything that is on that thread, you can see it all within there. Then if I wish to download that information, store it, if I wish to download that information from Rhinogram, I can do that. It is a PDF document, and then I can go to my EHR and upload it into the EHR. In order to facilitate that, we have added a new section called our library. So when I go to my library, I can see the saved content, all of the saved content for a particular patient within Rhinogram. So you'll see in this case here, the one that I just created, sample 3, is here. If yesterday, last week, last month, there was a particular episode or a particular set of messages that I also had saved, I can at any time click in and see, well, what is that snippet of information. So in this case here, we have 3 different pieces of saved content for a particular patient. And in addition, to be able to make it as a PDF and send that PDF wherever it needs to go. I can also copy this link here and share it internally. So if I'm having an internal conversation with a team member or with a doctor or with whoever, and you need them just to see this snippet of information here, you can essentially copy that information here, and you can go internally and paste it as a chat conversation. So in this case here, if I have a conversation going with Amanda and I want to give her specific instructions, check this out. She gets a message with just a link here. When she clicks on that link, she is taken straight into that snippet of conversation that was saved. So that is a quick overview of our select and save content feature, which, as I also mentioned, is now in beta. Our organizations have started using it this week, and we hope that it will be generally available for all organizations by the end of this month as well. We know this is one that's been asked for a long time, so we're very excited about it, and we are really looking forward to all of you guys getting your hands on this. So that's it from a demo and an overview point of view of our latest release, our 3.5.2 release, which is now a week in the wild. And so far, the feedback we've received has been great. But what I would like to do now is to open everything up to any questions that you have. If you would like me to elaborate on anything or give a further demo on anything, or if there are questions that I can help with, I would love to do so. So Erica, have we got anything?
All right, it looks like we have a few questions. Again, if you have any questions, there's the little tab under questions. If you type in your questions and send those in, we can answer those here live. So let's go through these. So we have a question. Is RhinoBlast an additional cost, or is this included in my subscription?
It is not an additional cost, which is good news, and it is included as a part of your subscription. And any organization now, if you are logged in as you're watching this demo, you will notice that if you go to your contact section and your save list, or into your contacts and save list, that you'll be able to either start making a new list and start sending out those Rhino Blasts. So it's already included. You can already start using this tool with no additional cost.
Right. We have a question here that says, do templates, if we have saved templates, do those also translate? Or is it just for messages on the fly? This person is asking.
You can insert a template and it will translate it at the time of sending the message. So if, for instance, I have a template already stored in the org and I am communicating here, I can use a template, and let's just see if there's one. Actually, really, any of these we could use. Let's just use the example here. So here is a template. You'll see it's already inserted in the variable. I can use the translation option here at the point of communication to translate that in the same way as if I had just written a message and translated it from there. The other thing I will point out is that we are starting our beta here. So when things are in beta, we always get some great feedback and some great comments and some great requests for future enhancements. So if we're always paying full attention there and adding any additions that we know will be valuable. So right now you can insert a template and translate it at the time of communication and send that out to your patients. In addition, you can obviously always use, a Spanish translation, for instance, here, translate it, and then you could copy this and add that into your template so that it's stored for future use as well.
We have a question here. How do you give permission to appointment manager without giving admin rights?
So without giving admin rights, yeah, good question. Within our roles and permissions, let's just say we were setting up a new role. Just here. So somebody can come into appointment manager as a part of their roles and permission. And if you didn't want to give them, certain level of permissions, you could set up a role that, let's say, gives them access to appointment manager without necessarily all of the other settings. So it should be controlled as part of the roles and permissions that we offer.
So when I send out a Rhino Blast and I send it out to 50 people and only 25 respond, is there a way to report or a tool that will show us the 25 who did not reply so we can follow up with them?
Yeah, so if you're using your save lists right now, so for instance, if I send it out to these 4 here, and only 2 of these respond to me, when they respond, they will be within your standard inbox. So if all those messages come into reception, you'll see a message, let's say, from Charles and Heather within your standard inbox. You would have to go back to your save list and see who did not respond, or if you did it from the appointment manager, you could look from the appointment manager list to see who has still not responded. So we don't have a specific Rhino Blast manager list in the same way that we do for appointment manager. So it would be a process of seeing who has responded and who was on the original list by checking out the original list that you sent it to.
Okay, we have another question. Is Rhino Pay included in the subscription?
Rhino Pay is not included in the subscription. If it is something that you are interested in adding, you can definitely reach out to your success team and they will walk you through the details, but it is not a part of the core subscription.
Okay, we have a great question here. Does Rhinogram only allow us to add PDF attachments and not Word documents?
So the list of, if you're ever wondering what are the formats we support, if you go to our templates here, these are the formats that we support. So if you're sending a text message, we support PNG files and JPEGs and GIFs and via MP files up to 60 kilobytes. That's if you're sending via a text message, which at that point will be an MMS. If you're sending a Facebook Messenger or an internal message or a Rhino Secure message, you can add a PDF into that list as well. But the original question was whether it supports a Word document. Is that correct, Erica?
Yes.
Yeah. So these are the only supported formats right now. So you would need to convert it, let's say, into one of these supported files and send it that way.
We have a question here. Is there a way to not ask patients about Rhino Pay and/or marketing under consent?
Is there a way to not ask them?
I'm guessing this is about just omit Rhino Pay when you ask for consent.
Yeah, you. So if you're sending out your standard HIPAA, your standard HIPAA consent status, let me just show here within the templates, you can edit this message as you see fit. So if you do not like what's in this particular message, you can edit that. Regarding the HIPAA message or the TCPA consent message that you may wish to compose are not linked to the Rhino Pay message that you can send out. So they are independent of each other.
Perfect. And this kind of goes into this next question we have. So I know that Rhinogram is a secure messaging feature, but a simple message about appointment, etc., is, do I need permission first before sending that first Rhinogram? And if so, is this set up upon the first Rhinogram? When I first send a Rhinogram message to a patient, they get the permission request.
Yeah, so it's as a part of our process for obtaining HIPAA consent, we recommend that as you are initiating a conversation, that you send out the HIPAA message. So let me just let's just try to find somebody that doesn't have that. Essentially, you are sending a templated message with the HIPAA consent system template, which is this one here. So you should initiate the conversation with that, which essentially is making them aware and saying, knowing that, like just like phone calls and voicemails, texting may not always be 100% secure depending on the service. Knowing that, would you like to communicate with, or would you like us to communicate with you via text message? So we recommend that as you are starting the conversation, you initiate the conversation with that, obtain their consent, and then mark that consent within the patient profile. So if I search for myself over here as well, so once you send out that message, in this particular example here, we've already sent that. I bet if I go up to the very top of the conversation, so yeah, sorry, it has already been sent in this case. So start the conversation with the HIPAA consent message, mark it appropriately, and then you can proceed.
Okay, we have.
Sorry, Eric, just one other point as well. I will say that like our success team have done a fantastic job as well. So I just don't want to let the moment pass here as well without advising you that within Rhinogram we have fantastic resources for all of these type of questions as well. So for instance, if I just type in HIPAA here, you'll see that we have a bunch of updates. So like a general overview of HIPAA, and it will do probably a much better job of succinctly answering all of those types of questions that you have as well. Obviously, I am happy to answer everything here as well, but I would always, even myself, I use this on an ongoing basis as well, just into our Rhinogram University and Help Center, and make sure that we, that all of those questions that you have are answered within here as well.
That is awesome. We actually have a follow-up question about consent. Can consent be gained outside of Rhinogram? For example, in your contract that says we can communicate with you via text message, ... unless you opt out, question mark.
Yeah, so if you know that you already have that consent, if it's a part of your standard intake forms, and you already have that documented, we are not looking to replace that system, and we are looking to be a further point of assurance, especially around marketing consent side of things. So if you know that you have it and you are in compliance, you don't need to necessarily utilize Rhinogram for that. What you can do is simply update the status. So if you have the evidence that you have marketing consent elsewhere, you can just mark that as granted within the Rhinogram system as well. We're just a further point of assurance when it comes to the actual a communication side of things.
All right, so it looks like we have quite a few more questions. So before sending an appointment reminder, should the HIPAA secure message be sent first?
Yeah, we would recommend that the process is to send out the HIPAA consent, making them aware of that you will be sending via text message, get their consent. Even the fact that you have made them aware of that is a great starting point, and then at that point send out the appointment information from there as well.
All right, looks like we have one more HIPAA question. So if HIPAA is denied, can we not message that patient?
Yeah, if the HIPAA within Rhinogram, you can still physically send the message here as well. But what we do is we make sure that when the status is marked as denied, if I was to update this preference here, that at the point of communication, we are showing this everywhere. So we have our red badge here. We say you can use all channels, but EPHI should be shared via Rhino Secure. So if you were sending them, some message about the parking situation in the office or something like that, that's fine. You could still communicate, but you shouldn't be sharing any EPHI at that point. And that's where we have our fallback of Rhino Secure. So if somebody says, I do not wish to receive EPHI about, or I do not wish to communicate with you via SMS, for instance, then you can move over to the Rhino Secure channel.
Great, we have a question here. Can we assign messages to different team members?
Yes, absolutely. So really quick overview of message management and assignment is that you can select a default route for all incoming messages. So let's say in the case here that all messages are going to come into the reception inbox. Here we have a patient that has sent a message in, and if I know, for instance, they've asked an insurance question, I can just hit assign over here, and then at this point, I can either assign it out to another group within my organization. You'll see in this case there's lots of groups. So if I want to assign this out to the insurance group and maybe add a note with that, insurance question, and I can assign that out. You will then notice that anybody that is in the insurance group over here has received they've received an assignment indicated with this badge count here. And in addition to that, we can see on the conversation thread that it has been assigned. So now I click in, and maybe I need to respond back to the patient from insurance, or I might need to write an internal note to send it on to somebody else. So I can either assign it out to a different member or a different group if I wish. But if I have already dealt with that question, I can then choose to end the assignment, and then this conversation will be closed. So you also have an option of whether you want that to go back to the original destination, if, for instance, somebody else needed to follow up, or you can just choose to actually close that. So it is a way so you can assign anywhere in the organization out to any group or member. That group or member acts on the message accordingly, ends the assignment, and then either it will be removed from all inboxes, or it would be sent back to the original place. And if I ever wanted to see that patient again, I can search for them and find them here, and I can see that what happened, that the conversation was closed just now. And one other thing I just want to point out as well is that within our analytics dashboard, at any point, if you have the relevant access, you can go into our closed section here, and you can see essentially a list of all conversations that have been closed. So as a manager or somebody that is maybe overseeing the communication, and you want to get an understanding of, show me all of the open conversations that we have within our organization right now. Where are they? How long have they been opened? How long has it been since the last response? You can do all of that within our conversation activities section as well. So if you're ever worried about, well, what happens with assignments when they go out to a group that I'm not a part of, if you have the relevant permissions, you can get the kind of global view of what is happening within the organization at any time for all open and all closed conversations as well.
We have someone here, it looks like, oh no, that their connection was unstable. And they're wondering if we have a recording of this. Yes, we have a recording of this, and we will be sure to send that out following the webinar. So don't fear, we'll send you the recording. We have another question here for you, Brendan. How do I become a beta client?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for every new feature that we are rolling out, we try to select a diverse range of organizations, large, small, different verticals, integrated customers, non-integrated customers. So we are generally setting our goals and our objectives for each of our beta programs, and then essentially finding suitable clients as well. So if you are interested in becoming a beta customer for any one of the features, please let our success team know. And then when we are, adding new features, we will reach out essentially to you. We love working with beta organizations. We try to vary it so it isn't the same group each time. So we are getting a range of feedback as well. So quick answer is reach out to your success manager, but we would really love to work with you. So it's really a case of finding the right opportunity.
Awesome, and it looks like we might have just one question left. Can you use an example of how someone might use at mentions?
Yeah, so let's say there is a clinical care team here. And in this case, there are 22 people in the care team, and there could be messages going on all day long, right? It could be, 500 messages in there, and I don't really need to actually pay attention to that on an ongoing basis. And I don't want to be constantly getting bombarded with notifications. So somebody might have all of their notifications switched off, but at mentions is a way of specifically calling out somebody. So if there is something that I know a particular person, I want to make them aware of it. So let's just take the example of of Amanda here. If I say, hey, Amanda, you really have to see this message here, like I need an answer from you right now on this, you can specifically call out Amanda, write your message, and send that message there. Another interesting thing that just to make sure everybody's aware of, notifications wise, somebody could have all of their notifications switched off if they wish, but they can add on mentions notifications. So if they are specifically mentioned, it actually calls them out and and shows them only that message and lets them jump back into that team message. So it is a way of kind of helping you to focus on only the important, the relevant messages for you. And then another benefit of it as well is that anytime you are mentioned, you don't just have to go into the clinical care team and kind of try to scroll for forever and see, well, where is that message? You can just go to your mentions. I haven't actually got any here, but you can click on that mention and it actually brings you straight into the relevant place in the conversation. So if you were mentioned 5 hours ago and there's been 50 messages since, when you actually jump in, it will jump you right into the relevant message. So that's the main use case for where it's useful. So it's when you want somebody's specific attention and you are trying to avoid some of the noise that can go on with messaging.
All right, everybody. So it looks like we were able to get through most of these questions. Brendan, thank you so much for joining us today and walking us through this new release. This is so exciting. Like I mentioned earlier, we're going to be sending a recap email that will have all of the details if you need to share this with someone on your team who may have missed a live presentation. We always record these things. We always send them out directly after. So if you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to customer success. Thank you, guys.